If you're in a serious relationship or you're married, that becomes your primary focus, period. So I've had friends come to me and I'm like, first question, oh, you talk to so-and-so, you talk to your man, you talk to your husband? Before we even talk about what I think, you need to go talk to him. I recognize my privilege in your life and I'm not going to abuse that. The privilege you given to me, it really needs to be given to me. Welcome back to the Fast Forward Podcast. We're continuing our conversation on privilege versus influence. And I wanted to spend today's out of scope episode speaking about maybe an unfamiliar character to you all. I wanted to talk about now getting into the privilege versus influence. Remember that privilege is the concessions or the entitlements that we get based on various dimensions of our identity. And then I wanted to spend time talking about influence, which is, of course, covert methods of control. So this is things like mentorship or the information that we give people that can shift their decisions or their perspective. I wanted to spend today's conversation talking about a character who had outsized influence and the benefit of privilege based on time known and personality traits. And that is Syd Shaw from the movie Brown Sugar. Now, if you are not familiar with that whole vibe of Black films from the late 90s or really just through the 90s to early 2000s, honey, that whole genre is a vibe. I don't think it could ever be duplicated. Like, they was just popping out classics. And Brown Sugar is one of my absolute favorite ones. So Brown Sugar is the story of Sydney and Dre, who are childhood friends turned tormented lovers turned husband and wife. Because I'm pretty sure they ended up getting married. I think they showed them just getting together, but they definitely ended up getting married after it was all through. And it's basically just rom-com that's just going through the internal and sometimes external struggles that they have to pretend like they are not in love with each other. It's set to this montage of describing the relationship and evolution of hip hop as a genre. It's interesting because hip hop, of course, started out as this very gritty depiction of essentially ghetto life and what it was like growing up in the hood, what it is like living in poverty and all the struggles during the crack era. Eventually, around the time this movie comes out, hip hop becomes quote unquote mainstream and it's the bling era. And now it's about money and flash and posing and pretending. It is portrayed as the pure version of hip hop, whereas Dre is going through all of these internal struggles about whether or not he wants to be the bling man who is the poser and mainstream, or does he want to keep his authenticity that would have been considered the original hip hop. It's parts of it that's cheesy. It's parts of it where it's like, okay, yeah, you know what's going to happen next, but I love it. It's a really good film. Some of the classic memes and things that you see out there, they came from Brown Sugar. I love it. Please go watch it. Syd is played by Sanaa Lathan. She does an amazing job in this movie. And Dre's character is portrayed by Taye Diggs. There's tons of other folks in there. Queen Latifah is rappers. Most Def is in there. It's great. Go watch it. And one of the interesting ways that Syd's character is exemplified, or I would say her personality is amplified, is through the juxtaposition of her personality against who Dre ends up marrying for a period of time in the movie. And that is Nicole Ari Parker's character, aka Reese. Reese is very quintessentially bougie. She is actually, they play on even looks with that because she is fair skinned and she has green or hazel eyes. She is very feminine and graceful in the way she presents. She is this, oh, now that I think about it, she does a really good job as presenting between a trophy wife, but also a power player because she is this entertainment attorney, but she also knows how to conduct herself in meetings to be just the doting wife and partner. And Syd is the girl who hates getting her hair done. She don't like wearing makeup. She don't like wearing heels. She like walking around in the hoodies and beatboxing and all of those things. But she has so many endearing qualities, and she is incredibly successful as well. She is the editor of one of the premier hip hop magazines at the time. Now, why I would consider Syd to be a villain, even though technically she one of the protagonists, is because she leverages her influence in Dre's life to get him to violate his core values under the assumption that she knows the real him. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. I know y'all gonna disagree. She recognizes the core values of him that have been enduring from childhood up until now. But unlike Reese, she is unable to cultivate and celebrate the type of man he has had to become to thrive professionally. And I think this is an important point to note about privilege and influence and how they are contextualized in a group setting. So we don't leverage privilege, we don't gain privilege, we don't gain influence, we don't leverage influence in a silo. I experience privilege or marginalization as a comparison to other people. I gain influence through a group setting. So I only know I have influence because other people are either affirming that or undermining that. You can't be an influencer on your own, and you can't experience privilege on your own. It has to happen in a group setting. So with her thing is, well, you were always hip hop and you were always true to that, and you weren't bougie and you didn't have to drink expensive champagne and wear fancy suits. You just chill. We eating a hot dog in the park and just kicking it on the bench. And while that is true, the acumen, the connections, and the agility, the personality agility, the speech agility that he had to have to grow his career could only have happened through some of the traits that she hated about Reese. Now, again, the way the movie sets it up is like such a clear black and white thing. And again, there's this underpinning of, hey, hip hop is becoming too mainstream and it's losing its way. But even when you think about hip hop and now, wow, that was like 20 years ago. So how it has evolved since then. When we think about the folks who we celebrated for quote unquote keeping it real, a lot of those people quite literally did not make it, right? Like they're no longer with us. They have not been able to thrive in their older age. And the people who have been able to thrive are the folks who learn better business acumen, political influence, political connections, relationship building, agility in investments, diverse portfolios of investments and products and appearances, etc. And those are the same people that at that time we would have called sellouts. So it would be interesting if they did a Brown Sugar Part 2 and show what happened to Dre and Syd after all of the magic wore off. Because Reese said something really important on the day when Dre came back from starting his company. He quits his job as this executive. I think he was an A&R executive at this record label. He just quits the job. And he tells Syd first, which already is a violation because, sir, you have a wife. But he tells Syd first. And Syd goes, oh, it's cool. I'm going to write you the check. Now, they never said how much the check was for, but I'm assuming the check was probably for something like $25,000. And I don't know why $25,000 comes to my head, but I'm just thinking of what you would need to get started with something like that. It probably had to be $25K or more. He gives her this check. He goes home. He's talking to his wife. And he tells his wife, like, yeah, I quit my job today. So, of course, she like, what? Why would you quit your job? And he goes, oh, I'm just tired of it. So she, trying to be supportive, is like, okay, that's fine. I'll call some money people. Because she plugged. He tell her, no, it's cool. Syd already gave you some money. So, of course, now Reese likes, You done told this chick over me, and you know I already got a problem with the fact that y'all this tight. Why you not telling me this? Like, I should have been the first one to call. Now, I am not saying that her subsequent actions were right because Reese ended up having an affair. Like, it was all kind of stuff going on. But I am saying that I understand her frustration and feeling like, why you violating our covenant? Like, I'm your wife. This is a direct impact on me, not old girl. That is what I mean by undermining the values needed to thrive in his current state. Syd was so used to Dre, the single man who just deal with chicks and sleep with all of these women, and none of those women are serious, that she could not appreciate or support him and who he needed to be as a husband. And the way the movie sets it up is that happened because Reese was bougie and she was considered the trophy piece and not the type of authentic woman that she thought he should be with, aka her. But the reality is, I don't think her behaviors would have changed no matter what type of woman Dre got with. The point was she saw him in this very narrow way, and that was it. Why I think this is an important point for us is because not only can we be that type of negative influence to others, but we can also allow other negative influences in our lives that don't support our evolution. I recently had a conversation with someone, and we were talking about like seasons of entrepreneurship and a business's evolution. And they said, yeah, sometimes you're going to have seasons where you have to take on a lot more pro bono work so that you can learn certain things or evolve the company. And then there are going to be some seasons where you're getting just like big contracts, boom, boom, boom. And, it just is what it is. Like, it's nice to have support during those pro bono seasons so you can grow to the next level. They will never know how that impacted me. But when we got off that call, I like went in a corner and cried because I've been in that season for a minute where my revenues have not been where I would have wanted them to be and needed them to be to thrive. But I've learned so much because the opportunities that I've gotten that were unpaid or for lower pay, they've helped me to test out new services and products. They've helped me with exposure. They have helped me to know what I needed to sunset in the company. They have helped me build new connections. They have been integral in me learning new skills. They just haven't paid a bunch of money. And the way that person put it, they described it so eloquently. I don't think they'll ever know how much that one little statement helped. And that is the point that I'm making about how we allow others to influence us. I had been carrying this almost like weight of depression about not having as much revenue on hand as I had, that it took away the opportunity for me to enjoy this season. And it took someone understanding the scope of what's possible and what's needed in entrepreneurship to affirm in me, hey, you're not crazy. You're not making this up. Yes, but this is just a season. And here's what could be the benefits of those seasons. And here's how I can prepare you for the season when you go invariably go back up in revenue again. Everybody else who was in my ecosystem at that time, I'm not going to say everybody, I'll say like 80% were like, no, what's the problem? Money, money, money. And it made me realize in that moment, man, I think I would have been able to be even more productive in this season if I had had that type of support or affirmation months ago or a year and a half ago. I want you to be thoughtful about how others influence you, because people can only affirm you to the level of their recognition of who you are. And a lot of times that's based on who you have been in their life and to them. But that might not be where you are. That might not be who you are. And that might not be who you will be or who you need to be. Let me also challenge your thought with that. That don't mean that they're wrong. The people who have not affirmed who I've had to be in certain seasons, I don't think that a lot of them were doing it maliciously. They were just limited by their own perspective. And sometimes people need you to stay in a particular space because that reinforces their need to stay in a particular space for themselves too. Sometimes people need you to stay smaller than you need to be, because it can shine a light on sometimes where they're playing small and where they need to play bigger. And then sometimes folks just don't want to be accountable for being more supportive or being more involved. Let me see if I can say this diplomatically. Okay. If people only want to support you in a certain way, your evolution sometimes will challenge that, and their only known recourse is to just tell you not to do something. So I'll never forget, I had the opportunity to go to Atlanta years ago. I'm talking about a long time ago. In fact, Atlanta actually would have been the first place I relocated to. But I had a friend at the time who also wanted to go to Atlanta, who, by the way, never ended up moving. And I remember we were talking about it. I was like, yeah, we should go. Because I knew in my heart, I'm like, I'm done in this place. Like, I want to relocate. And I'll never forget, they were like, yeah, I don't feel like God is telling us to move. I feel like God is telling us to stay put. And I'm like, no, I feel like I should move. Like, I think I should go. And they're like, no, I don't believe that God is saying that. Now, let me say this. You have to be very careful about the way people leverage your triggers to get you to stay in a particular space. Because that person knew, if they said, I just don't think it's in the best interest, or I'm scared, or I don't want you to leave me, that probably wouldn't have did it. But to say, I don't think God is telling you to do something, they knew, like, oh, that's the trigger where it's like, I'm going to stay put because I don't play with God telling me to do something. And so I didn't move. I did end up moving someplace else a few months later, but it was so much more difficult to make the transition than it would have been if I had just got up and left. And I think that's one of the reasons why after that, if I felt compelled to relocate and move, I didn't care what was happening. I was getting up and going, period. I was on the next thing smoking. For good or for bad. There's been times where I done moved and had white glove concierge service to my next destination. And there's been times where I done moved and was barely able to afford the drive over there or the flight over there. But I was going, period. Because I recognized later, first of all, we had very different value systems that drove our decision making. But also, we just had very different orientations. This was a person who was not quite adventurous. They really valued groundedness and consistency, didn't really like change. Like, that was just their personality. I was not like that at all. I want to change. I thrive off change. I thrive off newness. I thrive off of like pushing my own buttons and resilience, right? And so, because I couldn't appreciate that part of myself at that time, I let the greatest influencers in my life dissuade me from being who I really was. And that choice led me on a journey that took way longer to get to my desired place professionally, personally, than if I had just made the leap then. And I could have just got all of the little kinks out the system at that point and kept it pushing. So to go back to the example of Syd and Dre, what you need to be an editor or a journalist, which was Syd's profession, is very different than the type of values and traits you need to be a music executive and run a company that's handling millions of dollars in other people's careers. There's a very different lens. And to me, I think that she mismanaged her influence. I also think that she mismanaged her privileges as being the voice of reason and the voice that he trusted. Anytime you undermine somebody's ability to reprioritize their relationships based on new information, you on the wrong track. One of the things that I pride myself on is friends who are married or in serious partnerships. I shift completely to make sure that they know that's your new priority. And I know it's a lot of conversations about that, especially among women, because it's like, these men come and go. You always tell your friend, yeah, but if you're in a serious relationship or you're married, that becomes your primary focus, period. So I've had friends come to me and be like, oh, he get on my nerves, or I think I'm going to go do this. And I'm like, first question, oh, you talk to so-and-so, you talk to your man, you talk to your husband? I don't know. Good. Before we even talk about what I think, you need to go talk to him. Like, Okay, is he a bad person? Did he be blowing money? Did he do that? Nah, girl, he cool. I don't know. I think he gonna say no. Okay, well, he probably gonna say no for a reason. Like, you need to go talk to him because your decision, I'ma still be living my life. But what happens between you and him, that is a direct impact on his wallet, his life choices, his health, his everything. Because y'all married. Y'all in a relationship, you're in covenant. And so that choice in how I show up for them lets them know, number one, I recognize my privilege in your life and I'm not going to abuse that. But number two, the privilege you given to me, it really needs to be given to him. And that reworking is necessary. I can't tell you how many people I've seen blow up other people's relationships because they couldn't reprioritize. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, that's partly how my marriage ended up blowing up. Was because certain people among the in-laws didn't know how to be like, hey, I'm going to step back. You need to go talk to your wife. You need to go talk to her. What does your wife think? What is going to be in y'all best interest? They couldn't reprioritize that. And me being the person that I wasn't finna have that because I had a very different relationship with authority and with family. So for the most part, my family don't really influence my decisions. I rarely even ask their opinion on stuff. I just be doing me for a number of reasons. But this was new to me. And the resentment that grew as a result of that person not being able to prioritize the family we were creating, I was just like, oh, okay, well, I need to be out the door then, back. And it was some other things happening too that made it completely unmanageable. But that was a key part. It was like, no, our relationship needs to be the priority. Why is this person's decision or perspective so important? And them mismanaging their privilege made me just be like, okay, well, you should just go be with them then. Like, let me just leave you to manage that relationship and I can go ahead and skedaddle. And that's exactly what I did. So I want you to be thoughtful because sometimes people won't do it for you, even though they should. Sometimes you got to do it. And those are some difficult conversations. If you're married, come on now. Like, you shouldn't be asking your parents' opinion before you talk to your spouse. If your spouse is not the first person that you have a conversation with, unless you planning like a surprise birthday party for them, why you married to that person? What's going on there? You picking a new job? Spouse. Thinking about moving to a new city? Spouse. Going for a promotion? Spouse. Quitting the job? Spouse. Going to school? Spouse. Changing your diet? Spouse. And it's not about getting their permission per se, but it's about hearing their perspective because that is almost the only human relationship that is designed for you all to always be one. When I'm a parent, the goal is to help my child become self-sufficient and independent. Like, we know the marker of an adult by how much they are able to thrive fairly independently. But when I'm in a marriage, the goal is for us to always be in sync with the decisions that we're making. And so how can you be in sync if you're not communicating, if you're not aligning your values, if you're not synthesizing the choices that you make so that both of you can thrive? In short, Syd was out of pocket. Syd was out of pocket, and that's why I'm putting her in out of scope as the villain. Because even though, yeah, at the end of the day, she got the man, I would love for them to do a part two to see the seeds that she sowed of distrust, of insecurity, of undermining in his marriage to Reese. I'm pretty sure they came back to bite her in their relationship because that's a character flaw at that point. And there's no way that you can thrive when you are not able to prioritize relationships appropriately. All right, so what y'all think? If you've seen Brown Sugar before, let me know down in the comments. If you haven't, go watch it. It might even be available for free somewhere, but it's an amazing movie. Love it. And while you at it, go watch the other movies from that time. So I'm talking about The Best Man, The Wood. It's like a million of them. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you ain't going to be able to come out. It's a bunch of them. Go watch them. You're going to love them. Let me know what you think. And yeah, let me know. Do you agree? You think Syd was out of pocket, or do you think that she was well within her rights as the best friend slash tormented lover slash future wife. All right. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Chat with me down in the comments, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Bye.